Next up, you've been sending me material saying Lisa L. Moore. Is that your poetic persona?
Really, my name is Lisa Moore, but it's such a common name that I have to use my middle initial for publications, and I was Lisa L. Moore on Facebook for a long time, and then I got hacked. So I had to start a new Facebook account using my full middle name, but I really don't, I'm just Lisa Moore.
Oh, I've just always known you as Lisa Lynn.
Well, I know, because of Facebook.
Because of Facebook. Lisa L. Moore is an Alberta-born writer who has lived in Austin, Texas since 1991. She is the author of the chapbook 24 Hours of Men from Dancing Girl Press 2018. Her poems have appeared recently in Hairstreak Butterfly Review, Nimrod International Journal, The Fourth River, and Borderlands Texas Poetry Review. Her poetry and critical writing have been recognized with the Artline's Juried Poetry Prize and the Lambda Literary Foundation Book Award. The author or editor of 5 books of literary criticism, she teaches English and Women's and Gender Studies at the University of Texas at Austin, and you're newly the director of
LGBTQ studies, baby!
LGBTQ studies. Please welcome Lisa L. Moore.
Now I want to follow suit with Ray and say, I'm from Alberta, I'm a dyke, I am currently experiencing successful treatment for chronic depression, and I grew up on a ranch. And you might find all that in my poems. So I'll read a couple from 24 Hours of Men, and then I have some new stuff that I'll close with. So because we have the State of the Union, last night I thought I would read this poem, which is the first poem in my chapbook called Inauguration. And so I turn the heart's soil, crumbling hard, cold clumps with goosebump fingers, loosening what can be freed. It's like a bad breakup. You wake up every morning and without warning, you remember it's still true. This crushed petaled face is the only face I can turn to the world. Grit grinds out its pearl. I have emptied my heart, even of despair, this broken ground, my prayer. Then, just because this is an English department event, I thought and we just went through a Title IX investigation, I thought I'd read this one that I wrote in the context of that investigation. Poem I wrote instead of listing the names of every boy and man who has assaulted or harassed me. I need a poem like an ice pick. Like an ice pick needs a fish. A nice slithery target below the thick frozen layer holding the dead sticks. I wear outrage like a hair shirt, scary and close to the skin. Prickles covering the zipper down the back, which I can't reach anyway. Everyone knew, including you. Some kept secrets, others spoke up, and these were identical gestures in that they changed nothing. When the ice melts, it releases the 1,000-year diseases, and those might kill us before the living water sets us free. I need a poem like a neutron bomb, flooding cells on a mitochondrial level, lighting up neural pathways and epidural channels, bloom after bloom, touching everything. I'll read one farm poem for Ray. Poisoning Gophers, 1977. I hated pouring sweet-smelling strychnine like molasses over my bucket of oats. Hated climbing the side of the coulee in my gumboots, black rubber with soles pink as kitten paws. The 70-acre pasture rolled to the west, smelling homely of cattle-trod black grass and runny spring manure. In a landscape always threatening the thunder, I set down the 5-gallon bucket as often as I dared, rubbed blisters beneath my yellow deerskin gloves, switched hands. I scooped up a sticky sweet morsel with the long-handled spoon each time I stumbled across a hole where the bare black earth broke the meadow. I dropped the mouthful in. The walk was lovely in itself. I still love to walk through a quiet place. This meadow here, for instance, a flower with monarch butterflies on their way south. The sweetness stayed with me, but also the heavy poison bucket. I want now to lay down the strychnine-coated spoon. See, I changed it up after I heard Ray, so now I'm riffing. This is a poem called, I have a series called Raising White Men that's in this chapbook about, well, raising white men, my 2 children. Raising white men too. Mimi is what my children call me. Nobody wanted us to have these babies. I broke it to my parents like bad news. Let 1,000 flowers bloom is nice in theory, my dyke friend hissed in disappointment. We don't drive across Oklahoma, where their other mother is just another legal stranger, dangerous, confused, and criminal. Our children call her Mama. There are several poems in this book about a terrible car accident that our sperm donor got into. He's okay now, thank God. It's really a miracle. He had 9 surgeries in 36 hours, but he recovered, and we have him back. But a lot of these poems were written when we didn't know if he would live or die. So I'll read one of them, called Baby Daddy. The beautiful shoulders I see every day on my son's backs, the butt that makes their jeans look good, were T-boned by a Dodge Ram. Max laid his head on his bio-dad's chest, and they both wept. But since then, the vent and chest tubes have risen from the ocean of sedation to crush much of the sweetness. Doctors look right past the baby mamas, the legal next of kin. His brother asks if we are churched or unchurched. I've locked my keys in my running car twice. I've felt my strong back, thrumming open heart. I've cried soundlessly in public. Many times I've said the words, "He is so badly hurt." I'll read one more poem from that series about John's accident. He stayed in our house for a month. He was on a hospital bed in the living room. It wasn't always easy. So this is called Home Care. He dreamed of a mansion of bitches. Which of us takes this pain? Park the black truck in a dark time, shoved in our faces, sucked back through a purified mind. 6 surgeries in 36 hours. My flowering ones for your pierced ones. I was the rock's rock. Shock, brain bleed, sheer terror. At least they missed your moneymaker. I take his fear, I give my love, I miss it, churched or unchurched. Less of a lurch with a cane than a walker. HIV talk outside the door only. Give me your lonely, take my loved. A life-sized cutout of Roger Federer. Better a codger's bedside urinal than a pool of piss. A Santa hat, a fall risk, boxers laundered and folded. Injured solstice holiness, a poultice on the stapled wound. His bed beside the piano, can't know the prognosis. Starbucks and the New York Times. You're not 90. A pint of blood, a pint of piss, a shot of rum, and a frozen painkiller. He still cannot be rushed. Hush, his Christian sister doesn't know. Okay, here are a few more recent poems that are working their way into a collection. This one's called Turning the Knot. Sometimes you need a length of rope, and all you can find is a knot of knots, the whole length balled up the size of your head. All knots rely on the stress between the turns to stay together. Some say you can tap on the knot to release tension, then twist the ends and push. If you don't care about the knot, just cut it with a pair of scissors. No, I'm serious. But if you do care, become intimate with the knot. Examine it carefully. Even the tightest knot moves a little. This is an effective place to begin work. Gently draw this part toward you, turning and folding the rest of the knot back to free it. Now the knot has changed. Find new movement. Start here and turn the knot again. Each time you turn, learn the contours of the knot that's left. As turning loosens tension, the knot will slowly melt into rope. You may find that you miss it. Okay, I'll just read two more. And I think, given the vibe, I will read one about my grandmother, the farmer. So it's called Eileen May White Moore. The name we called you, Grandma Moore, flattened out consonants and contracted syllables, but was oddly formal. In your small stucco house by the highway, you raised 4 children in 2 bedrooms and a lean-to tacked on to the back. How crowded that must have been. But I remember you alone there and lonely. The worry over finding you a hired boy to live in, my father and uncles gathering on the weekends to help with the farm. Work you could not do alone after Grandpa died. I was with you that day, 15 months old in the deep Alberta winter, well wrapped in the back seat of a car that stopped in a snowy field where you and Grandpa had driven to check the cattle. Something happened. No one knows what but you. The car stalled. Grandpa jacked it up, dug underneath, and the car slipped, crushing him. The nearest help was a mile across the fields. So in your house dress and galoshes, you walked away. All right. Just like Ray, I'm going to try to end on an up note. This poem is a sonnet and it's called Plato's Right. Yesterday I came back home again, another work trip. Gold, you kept the home fires burning. Yearning, there was some while I was gone, but it's the end of Sunday dinner, full when cousins come to visit, so we just exchange a thumbs up, sweet kiss, warm hug. You used to bend me backwards over couches in your ardor. With kids and in-laws, aches and pains, it's harder to dance that dance. I miss it, but I'm glad we had it. Jeweled years alone and mad about each other's bodies. Plato's right. Lust leads us on. Remember, Jan, that night, our first, you asked me why we're here? I answered, divine love. That's also why we're queer.